Racial hatred, cited after a shooting rampage in Italy. A gunman targeting African immigrants from his car on Saturday wounded at least 6 people, one seriously, before being arrested. Calling the shootings an evident display of racial hatred, Italy's Interior Minister Marco Minniti said the only element that links the persons who were injured is the colour of their skin.
We have seen very little use of the word terrorist to describe these kinds of racist attacks that we've seen in Italy this weekend, because there are far-right terrorists in Britain, for example. There's Anders Breivik in Norway, who's a far-right terrorist. This is going on all the time in parallel to what they call Islamist terrorism. The only thing is that the Western media all over Europe, and North America, seem very reluctant to use the word terrorist when it comes to a white person and when it comes to the fascists, to the far right.
There are just over 5 million foreigners living legally in Italy, about 8% of the country's population. Of these, 3.7 million are from outside the European Union. Immigration is a hot topic in Italy, with national elections just around the corner. Far-right leaders have tried to capitalize on popular sentiment against the waves of migrants coming from African countries, with little if no effort to address what has contributed to the emergence of a new form of slavery.
It is a form of slavery. I think it's important to say that in any country which is not civilized, in other words, it doesn't guarantee its citizens food, it doesn't guarantee them shelter, and it doesn't guarantee them water, the basic needs of life. In any of those countries, if people don't have enough money, effectively they're forced into a kind of slavery. Well, we can call it wage slavery, and that is what it's called across large parts of Europe by the left. You know, people like Jeremy Corbyn in the Labour Party in Britain, and John McDonnell, his shadow Chancellor, would recognise these terms. What's happened is there's been a complete dumbing down of the employment system and a smashing of the rights that unions have won over many, many years. And so that's why I think we've got this form of slavery.
In March 2017, Catania's chief prosecutor Carmelo Zaccaro revealed that the state had started investigations into prisons and refugee camps where extremists were recruiting migrants waiting for their asylum request to be answered. Investigations reveal criminal groups are recruiting migrants from migration camps for forced or low-paid labor. Moreover, female migrants are likely to fall into the trap set by traffickers who lure women into prostitution. According to the International Organization for Migration, IOM, more than 80% of women brought to Europe from Nigeria are unknowingly sponsored by sex traffickers who have paid for their journey. In 2014, an investigation known as Mafia Capitale found that a criminal group had been running Rome's municipal government for years. The group had infiltrated asylum centers across the country, buying and selling names and details of migrants who had long disappeared, in order to keep the per-person state funding coming. In 2017, anti-mafia police arrested 68 people in Esolo di Capo Rizotto, where one of the country's largest migrant and refugee reception centers has been in operation for more than a decade. The criminals have stolen tens of millions of euros in public funds intended for asylum seekers.
Mafia have been involved in this trade right from the start, this trade of human beings. Alex Perry, he was Newsweek's Europe's correspondent in Africa for several years, up until Newsweek stopped their European edition. He wrote a book in 2015 called The Rift, and he was a Newsweek journalist who uncovered some of the serious mafia roots of this crisis. What the mafia were doing was supplying the boats which the migrants, economic migrants, were coming across the Mediterranean on these boats. And then they were also running the camps in Italy, in southern Italy. So yes, it's made a lot of money because that money is coming from the government straight to the mafia to run those camps. and in many ways it's easier than drug running.
No stranger to corruption and racism, Italy has once again shown its true colours in dealing with migration and other human affairs.